So we have seen an absolute thriller that has unfolded on the second test between New Zealand and Australia at the Hagley Oval in Christchurch. And early morning today on Monday, Australia have clinched a 3-wicket win at the Hagley Oval versus New Zealand, thus prolonging their pain and thus ensuring that New Zealand continue to remain winless against Australia. I mean, what a performance by the Aussies. I mean, they were four down yesterday, and today Travis Head, one of the stars in the WTC as well as in the ODI World Cup, even he fell cheaply. But then the never say die attitude of the Australians ensured that they would be on track with a fantastic effort. Mitchell Marsh leading from the front with a brilliant 80, Alex Carey with 98, but it was Pat Cummins 32 and his partnership with Carey that ensured Australia would stay unbeaten in New Zealand in their entire tour. If you look at it, 3-0 in the T20Is and now 2-0 in the two-match test series that has happened. So it is heartbreak for New Zealand yet again. And it is because of this now Australia have made a big step in the World Test Championship series. I mean, this win now will ensure that they are 1 and 2 in the table respectively, India and Australia. New Zealand will potentially shift down to number 3 at this point. Now, how did the day pan out between New Zealand and Australia? I mean, New Zealand had their tails up, having already taken 4 wickets earlier. Then Travis Head also continued his poor form. Ever since the World Test Championship final, he has just averaged 28. And that is why his struggles continued. He also fell cheaply, and because of that, there was a bit of pressure. But then in stepped Mitchell Marsh and in stepped Alex Carey in particular, because Alex Carey was also in a bit of a low run in the past couple of months, and that's why he needed this knock. So, unlike the first innings here, he looked much more confident with himself. Marsh and Carey attacked in only one way. They just wanted to pepper the boundaries. They backed themselves with those big hits, and they ensured that they got the target very close indeed. When there was less than 100 runs needed, you felt that the momentum had shifted to Australia. Then Marsh was on 80. Alex Carey was also had crossed his 50. In came Ben Sears. Ben Sears has been very impressive in his debut test match, and he once again broke the game open. He got Mitchell Marsh LBW with a delivery that was angling in. It seemed to have been just clipping leg stump, and that is why the decision went in New Zealand's favor. The game seemed to have tilted in New Zealand's favor when Ben Sears got the wicket of Mitchell Starc as well. So, 2 wickets in 2 balls, he could have gotten a hat-trick. But unfortunately, what happened was Cummins drove at a delivery. It just went wide of the slip fielder. He probably got a hand on it, and that is why it was a missed opportunity. Luck was also with the Australian team. Let us be very honest about it, because when Alex Carey tried to run a short ball over the slips, he was cramped for room and the ball hit the top edge. The gully fielder tried to catch it, but then unfortunately it just went over him. It just went over Glenn Phillips. That was the moment of luck that you needed. But Pat Cummins, man, oh man, he is ice cool, and he generated his vibes from the Edgbaston win. Remember, in Edgbaston, Australia were in a similar situation. But Postman Pat and Nathan Lyon at that time ensured that Australia would get through the line with just 2 wickets to go. Then here, Alex Carey and Pat Cummins ensured that they managed to get Australia over the line. Boundaries were hit. Cummins in particular looked far more assured. The drives that were there, over-pitch deliveries were punished. New Zealand, their shoulders dropped, and unfortunately, this has resulted in yet another loss for them, and they just can't seem to crack the Australian code at this point. So, you very well, people may argue that yes, Alex Carey should have gotten his 100. Oh, he should have ensured that Cummins should have at least played out a delivery also and gotten Alex Carey to 100. But that is not how the Australian team works. The Australian team wants to ensure victory. Personal milestones can take a backseat. If the team wins, then and only then, there is a very sweet thing when it comes to milestones then. Alex Carey, 98, the most valuable knock that he's ever played in his career. He's only got 100. That was against South Africa on Boxing Day. But here, He has played a 98, which is equivalent to 100, and that is why it is a great victory for Australia, considering the fact that you had to chase 279 on a wicket which was not at all easy. 162, they had a lead of 94 runs when you look at it. After that, New Zealand staged a fight back. The wicket was just getting better and better, but here it was old school Australianism that shone, and because of that, now they will go to second position in the points table. New Zealand will have a big dip, and they have ended their home summer on a, you may say, a bittersweet note, because they had beaten South Africa for the first time at home. They had beaten them for the very first time ever in a bilateral series, but they have once again lost to Australia. And look at the horror run that New Zealand are enduring. They have only won two tests in 31 years against Australia. 1993 was Auckland, and here 2011 Hobart. 7 runs, and they had lost even there as well. In New Zealand also, they had won by 5 wickets in 1993. 1993 Auckland, 2011 Hobart. Ever since then, it has been thoroughly Australia's dominance in the contest against New Zealand. So the home summer has ended on a bittersweet note for New Zealand, with just two with a very good Australian team. And I'll just take a couple of questions. Then Satish V saying Australia are truly magnificent. Yes, they are. They're absolutely magnificent at this point in time. The top edge has a very harsh comment. Travis Head is the most overrated cricketer at the moment. He should be dropped from the test team. Really, top edge? I mean, it was just 9 months ago that we were waxing lyrical over Travis Head. See, there will be a dip in form, and that is why he will ensure that he comes back. I mean, Australia need Travis Head more than everything at this point in time. So, Australia has ensured that they have won series versus Pakistan and New Zealand. The draw against the West Indies might hurt them still. But now, Test match summer takes a break, and now they will only resume in September. Australia are going to Sri Lanka for two tests, and then they will play the BGT at home. New Zealand, on the other hand, their home summer now will begin with England. They will end with England in December, January of 2024-25. They will then tour Sri Lanka and India for two tests each, and two tests in Sri Lanka, three tests in India. So that is the current situation. The top edge. Travis Head is Satish V is countering top edge. And Travis Head is the only player that did well in this scene. Shreyansh Pudipatti is like saying, why can't Oz lose and why can't New Zealand win? That's a very good question, Shreyansh. Many New Zealand folks will be wondering why they can't win against the Australians. I mean, look at international formats across. When was the last time New Zealand managed to beat Australia? You look at the Chappell Hadley series, they had lost 3-0. They had even lost in the ODI World Cup also. They had lost even in the test matches here. They have lost in the T20Is. It is a complete international sweep when you have to look at Australia and New Zealand at this point in time. Australia continuing their big brother syndrome over New Zealand. I mean, look at it. Every format that they play, there are players who step up. Mitchell Marsh has had an outstanding tour, if you have to look at it. 3 T20Is, he was simply magnificent. Here in the test match, when it was needed, he stepped up, and boy, did he step up in a big way. Cameron Green stepped up in tough conditions in Wellington. Here, Mitchell Marsh stepped up in tough conditions in the fourth innings. Alex Carey stepped up. If the top order doesn't perform, then the lower order will. This series, though, has been a big setback for Steve Smith. I think his experiment as an opener has really backfired. And now he may argue very well, okay, 7 tests, I can do it. 4 tests, I can do it. But unfortunately, if we look at it, Steve Smith's numbers as an opener is just not adding up at this point in time. And he's endured a very torrid tour of New Zealand. So that's why he'll have to reconsider this. Dr. Dayawalkar is saying, introspect, New Zealand hasn't beaten Australia in their home since ages. 1993 Auckland, introspect. That was the time when New Zealand had beaten Australia. That was the time by just 5 wickets they had beaten them, and that is why that was the last test of the series, by the way. Alan Borders, Australia had won the first test. The second test was a draw, if memory serves me right. But then the final test was won at Eden Park, Auckland, and that's why it's the thing. Can Australia win the WTC again? They very well can. They very well can, because their fixtures are looking really good indeed. Oz India WTC final repeat. Yashwant PNVR is saying yes, it looks more and more certain now that it is going to be an India versus Australia WTC final part 2. They had played in Oval. Now they might play at Lords in June 2025 as well, because India's fixtures, if you look at it, they are much better. 3 versus New Zealand, 2 versus Bangladesh. That they are not expected to lose, by the way. Australia, on the other hand, they have got a tricky assignment in Sri Lanka. But at the same point in time, they have got 5 tests versus India. So that might once again be a preview. That is once again a preview to your World Test Championship final. However, the one team that can upset the apple cart for them is South Africa. I'll again repeat it. Yes, South Africa may not be the top team at this point in time, but their fixtures are really, really good. They are playing West Indies away. They are playing Bangladesh away. But their 2 home series now is against Pakistan and Sri Lanka. That is when South Africa can really, really put up a fight in that sense. Once Jain, that's why Shamar Joseph spell is top 5 greatest bowling spells of all time. Agreed. Once Jain, I mean, Shamar Joseph, he bowled with a broken toe and he managed to ensure he bowled 12 overs on the trot and he got 7 wickets in Brisbane. गावा का घमंड फिर से टूटा, and that is why, yes, I do agree, it should be in the top 5 spells in this modern era, if I may have to at least add. Will Pat Cummins ever lose something? Charan Bogharaju saying, will Pat Cummins ever lose something as captain, or he will be winning everything as captain? What if he wins IPL? Well, if he wins IPL, he is a captain. He's the Midas captain. Everything that he touches, it turns to gold. So if Cummins wins the IPL, man, oh man, then it will be something spectacular. But yes, Cummins didn't win the Border Gavaskar Trophy, Charan. So that is why that's the one thing that is missing from his illustrious CV at this point in time. And Saudi introspectively, Saudi looks past his prime. New Zealand need pace options. Ben Sears was impressive as Will O'Rourke in last match. Agreed. I mean, Saudi has played in 100 tests. I think now he may not play more tests. You may see the last of Tim Saudi in test matches, and maybe he will just focus on white ball. That's a sad trend that is going on in New Zealand at this point in time. Will O'Rourke and Ben Sears, the future does look very promising for them, but they have to be really, really injury-free in that sense. If Kyle Jamieson can come in, then it will be a really good Australia. So will Australia win the WTC final again, Dr. J. Walker? It's difficult. I mean, on current form, both India and Australia are the deserved teams in the WTC final at this point in time. So, yes, June 2025, it looks good for Australia and India to play in the WTC final. But remember, Australia at Lords has just lost twice in 90 years. That's another factor. Overconfident, Rajesh Khatri saying, overconfidence was the reason why Australia lost BGT. Not really. I mean, that was partly a reason, but I don't think it was a main factor. India played with much more aggression. India were far more determined. Australia were just fatigued. And yes, you may say Tim Paine's comments in Sydney did not put the Australians in good light, and that's why he managed to do it. Charan is once again saying, before I sign off, Cummins, the batter, is also quite underrated. Always helps to keep one safe, like Afghanistan match, Ashes in this match. I mean, Postman Pat always delivers. I mean, you mentioned rightly, Afghanistan series, Edgbaston, this match here. You are even forgetting the South Africa semi-final. He and Stark, that encounter ensured that it was Iceman Pat indeed. So Pat Cummins, fantastic. Both Shreyas and Head have a short ball problem. Shreyas may have a short ball problem. Head also, they do pepper him with a short ball. But you have to understand, he sometimes gets to work around it. He does have a bit more success than Shreyas Iyer in that sense. You remember, India were peppering him with the pull shot, with the short ball in the World Cup final. But Head found a way to do it. He made room and managed to flat bat it over extra car. He then pulled it to deep mid wicket. So I think Head does have a bit more success in that sense. So, New Zealand, once again, for this decade now, they have not managed to beat Australia. They've lost to Australia. 3 wickets, that is the margin of victory. By Australia, they win the series 2-0. They have swept the tour 3-0, 2-0. And that's why now they head into the IPL now. International cricket takes a back seat at this point. We will be back with more updates on Sports Rate. Tap that bell icon so you know when we go live. And don't forget, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Bye-bye.